My protective cocoon.
Oh god, we do need a protective cocoon for this book.
Listeners,
Honestly,
you can't see me, but just know Hannah texted me to record today while I was laying in bed staving off an accidental post-work nap, which I really needed to not take, so I'm grateful, but I didn't want to get out of the blankets, so I just brought the blanket with me.
They are portable, thankfully. And then she has this, like,
Thankfully.
the biggest smile on her face when she, like, opened the camera, and I was like, she's just in this, like, cocoon, smiling.
Just a little monster.
Yeah. I mean, that fits the vibes of today's episode. Because truly...
Listeners, I wanted to like this book. I really did. Because I wanted to be one of those cool girls.
Yeah. And
I feel like I can still like bodice rippers. I just don't like this one.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I thought I was going to be predisposed to love it. Because, again, we know my obsession with Kiss of a Demon King by the one and only Cressley Cole. And that one also, she kidnaps this man to steal his seed. And I have been told that that's, like, not a fan favorite, which, I mean, it hurts my soul endlessly. But, like, I get it, I guess. People are people. But...
was the least concession, or, like, valid consent. You're like, I guess.
Because I don't. It's a great book. If you don't like it, you're wrong. That's honestly, like, I can't. I tried. I did. Sometimes I get it. You know, I get if you don't like a book. That one, I don't. I really don't. Because then people are like, Dreams of a Dark Warrior, that's my book. And I'm like, who are you? And why are you wrong? It's fine. But, like, they have, like, the same... So, like, Caroline and I were talking, like, a week ago. And we have to just assume that, like, Cressley read this book. And was like, how would I make it better? And also make him, like, a 7-foot-tall, like, demon who's really good in bed and also has horns that are rock hard and also gives Sabine so much agency and consent. Because this book has none of that. I mean, I guess he's sexually gifted, but, like...
At what cost?
At what cost? Because, like, I really tried to love it. Because I was like, yeah, kidnapping. Yeah, bringing forth the seed. But it literally starts with her mother just getting beaten by her stepbrother.
Yeah, tell me why. Okay, wait. Let's back up. Hello, welcome to Romance or TBR. I'm Caroline, that's Hannah. We're talking about Prisoner of My Desire by Johanna Lindsey. Welcome to Old School, Lesson 2. We'll figure out what that lesson is by the end of this episode.
I have an entry that I'll get to when the time comes.
Good, because all the ones I could think of, I was like, that's not a thing that I can say on the internet.
I know.
Like, what lesson did you learn?
I found the, like, least...
the least offensive.
Uh-huh. I mean, technically, my mom, like, it could technically be offensive, but, like, endearingly. So, like, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
You'll learn something. We promise. This is school. It's not just unlimited recess.
I would like to say, before we get it, it wasn't all bad, and I think we should go over the good things, too.
We both gave it 3 stars. Which, fascinating, if I'm being honest. Because, like, now if I read it, I would not give it... I don't think I'd give it 3 stars, but I'm in, like, the middle of a slump. So it's, like, troubled times for me. But I will say, I will never forget it. You know?
I will never forget it. I couldn't stop reading. Once I had started, I was, like, really flying through it. I needed to know what... I got through it very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's mainly why I gave it the 3, is because, like, I didn't hate it. And, like, if I didn't hate this book, that's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, there were elements that I enjoyed. I thought it was fun watching him in, like, the latter third of the book when he started, like... He was doing that classic historical romance hero thing where he was, like, doing things and not knowing why he was doing them.
Yeah.
I just needed that to be a good,
way earlier.
200% longer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I just, like, I can't, because I know you haven't read the Cressley Cole one, but, like, both of those characters go through, like, a lot of change, whereas this one, neither, like, he doesn't really change at all. And, like, I get why he was angry. I mean, I sure do.
Yeah, I mean, not to beat around the bush, man was raped
Yeah,
and
and
chained for days. They
uh-huh,
planned on murdering him.
uh-huh. They were, like, gonna get her pregnant and then kill him.
Yeah,
And
like,
so
he has every right to seek vengeance. Just
uh-huh.
he's what's the past tense of seek? Seeked?
Sought.
Sought, thank you.
Sought.
I was like,
I
seek,
got you.
soaked.
Soaked?
Soak. Like,
I
what's
sought
the past tense?
vengeance.
He sought vengeance on the wrong person.
Yeah. And he never gave her the chance to be like, this is what happened.
Right, and even when he did finally realize he was
Yeah.
wrong, he groveled for, like, 2 seconds.
There was, like,
There was, like,
none.
1 page of him being like, "I'm really sorry, why didn't you tell me?" And she was like, "You wouldn't fucking let me."
There's actually so much more about this book that's, like, coming back to me now.
It's all
Like,
coming back to me now.
I mean, like, you could, like, I could, like, open to any of these tabs and I wouldn't know what I would expect. Like, I'm, like, holding my book. And,
There is
like,
that. There is that.
I will, okay, so the first one, that when I was, like, reading notes before this, I mean, I read 2 because I had to stop because I was like, "Whoa, I need to just get these thoughts down on
This
air."
isn't like an easily skimmable book.
No. No.
You can't just revisit passages.
W and when you do, this is what you pull up to. I opened up to page 231 of my original copy, and my Post-it note said, "Well." And I was like, "Why did I write well?" It's because our dear hero
Oh, no.
had an illegitimate daughter,
Oh,
and
Warwick.
and and he saw her. He didn't know he had a daughter, and he
Mhm.
saw her in public, and he was like, "When I first noticed her, my friend, all I saw was a comely wench I might like to sample in a few years." And
Mhm.
I told her so, whereby she promptly explained, with a good deal of affronted heat, that I could not because she was my daughter.
Mhm.
And I forgot about that. And I was like,
Um,
well, he sure did. I mean, incest is something you just have to be very, I don't know. It's present. Obviously, like, it was her stepbrother or cousin or something. I think it was her
it was her
stepbrother in this book.
stepbrother. They weren't actually related.
No, because in The Kiss of a Demon King, he's fully her half brother, and he just really wants to
Oh,
fuck her. There's so much incest, so much incest.
okay.
Like, he
Well,
really,
that's a different episode.
I know, but the thing is, like, there's always some terrible, like, family member who wants to fuck the heroine, and, like, for her kingdom, because that's what this all, like, stemmed down to in that one too. So, like, I just don't understand how we get here
I
from
mean, I
that
will say,
jumping off point.
I read a lot of reviews pre this episode
Oh, I
trying
read
to figure
nothing.
out,
Why people
because
love
I
it?
was like, because I didn't hate
Yeah.
it. Like I said, this is a weird book because you read it
Mhm.
and, or at least my experience was, I couldn't
Shock.
stop reading it. Like, I wasn't not enjoying myself.
Yeah.
But I also, for so much of the book, like, was sick to my stomach. Like, I really did
Yeah.
not like, and it wasn't even, here's the thing, and this might be bad and reflect poorly on me. The rape itself, and the premise of this book is rape, so there's quite a bit of it, didn't bother me as much as the humiliation and suffering that he put her through
Yes.
after it.
Yeah.
Like, it
Because
wasn't
then
enough.
yeah. Because,
Like,
like,
he had to absolutely tear down everything that made her who she was, and, like,
uh-huh.
yeah, to a certain, like, eventually she realizes she has her, like, feminine wiles and she has some power over him,
But she
but
wasn't a
not
bad
fucking
person.
much, and she didn't do anything to deserve that in the, like,
No.
yes, she raped him, but to be clear, she
She
was
would have been
doing it
murdered
under
too.
duress.
Yeah. And like, it's a hard thing to, like, obviously excuse, and you can't excuse it because, I mean, she could have just, I don't
Well,
know.
but let's say this, she
Yeah.
did wrong. She also
Yeah.
was, like, horrifically, like,
Mhm.
guilt-ridden over it,
Yeah. Well,
apologized
she
repeatedly.
stopped
She
after
stopped
3
as
days,
soon
let
as
him
she
go.
possibly could,
Mhm. And even if
saved
she
his life,
wasn't
like, she was
pregnant.
really doing her best to,
Yeah.
like, get him out of this situation that they were
Well,
both in.
and honestly, the first scene, like, it was, I mean, that one was a rough one because she didn't it was like he knew, like she was sobbing. She had no idea how to get him hard, so she was like trying to like have sex with his flaccid
Yeah, he was
penis.
so mad, and I was like, Warwick, read the room.
Yeah, well, because
That's just the way he like refused to face facts. Like,
yeah,
she very clearly was not pleased with having to do this.
uh-huh.
I-
It's just, it's like, I it I, I mean the shock. So you like, so you have basically, I suppose, to let's rewind. So, so to pull a Ted Lasso,
Don't add in a sound effect.
no,
Just do it yourself.
it's just gonna be that. So the book opens up. What is her name?
Rowena.
Rowena. Okay. Banger of a name. I do love that name. So Rowena is in her like castle with her, I don't know what that guy's name is, but her stepbrother.
It's something stupid. He has a stupid name.
Sir McStupid.
What's his name?
It's, I don't know. I'm going with Sir McStupid until we get something to the contrary.
I have a note about Sir McStupid when you've made your point.
Amazing. So it opens up with him just beating her mother. Sure. And to convince the heroine to because like he's like in love with her, but she doesn't know it. And then
he lusts after her.
And yeah,
that man is not in love.
He would not be beating her mother. That is very true. So he's like, you have to marry this old guy because I need the land that he like brings with it, because then he like wants the land that she inherited from her father. Gilbert. Bleh.
I knew Gilbert. It was a stupid name. No offense to anyone named Gilbert out there.
I sincerely hope. Dumb. I hope no one has a Gilbert in their life. If you do, and you love him,
unless isn't Gilbert in Anne of Green Gables, isn't his name Gilbert?
Yeah,
he gets a pass.
He does get a pass. That's the only one.
But all the other Gilberts,
they're just dead to me. Sorry to say.
This one ruined it for you.
He really did. And well, the thing is, because yeah, I was gonna say, because the guy in the Crescent Cole one was Olmort, which also was just bad.
Oh, very similar to Gilbert.
I know.
That feels like a nod.
So this guy is trying to get her to marry this like 80-year-old ugly ass like guy who kills his wives, and she's like, I'm not gonna do it. And then he's like, well, I'm just gonna beat your mom until you say yes. And she accepts. She marries this guy, gets into the bedroom with him. Someone gave her like alcohol, I think, so she would just like not have to deal with it. She was like, just pass, like, I want to be passed out. This guy is terrible. He's like, if I can't get it up because I'm old, at least he acknowledged that, I have this guy who I employ to knock up. Like, I would love to have his seed in my family. So much seed in this episode. It's unavoidable at this point. It's very fertile.
Seed and man root.
Man root.
Very earthy this episode.
Wow. That's bringing back memories. And so she's like, okay, this guy is just going to have his weird servant also, like, impregnate me. And then he just dies. He just drops dead before any consummation can happen. And so, the Gilbert, stupid face, is like, how about we kidnap someone who has blonde hair and like, is it gray eyes? Because that's what this guy had. Because
I think so.
Because Gilbert was like he had like dark hair, and so he couldn't risk the baby not looking like this old guy. And so they go to this inn and kidnap the first person they see with blonde hair and gray eyes. And they bring him back. They kill his like 15-year-old.
Yeah,
like,
rip that.
I know.
Squire.
I know. I was like, whoa.
Fully was a child.
A death of a youth? The youths?
The youths have been
hurt. That just shocked me.
The youths have been murdered.
Lanced. They have been lanced. And I was like, whoa. That's when I knew. That's when I knew. That was the moment I knew. Taylor Swift reference.
Ding.
Yeah, I knew Jake Gyllenhaal wasn't going to come, and I knew this youth had just been lanced. And so then they knock this guy out, and they chain him to the bed, and that sets the scene that we were talking about.
Where she's like crying.
Yeah. So then
Clearly doesn't know what she's doing.
She has to like go out of the room, get someone to tell her how to like arouse him, and then he's like, because he was like taking pleasure in the fact that she like couldn't get him off. Like he was like really like tamping down his man root. It was like still in the earth. And
which of course brings about the central like you're a prisoner to your desire.
Yeah.
Is the idea that like you can be aroused against your will.
Yeah. Which is, you know, in part you've like touched on in maybe past episodes or just like in conversation about the like non-con and the work it does in like like bodice strippers and stuff and everything. But
I mean, I will say as a bodice stripper, this one is interesting and of note because she rapes him.
Yeah.
Although again, it's like against her own will, so you could argue, and I would.
Yeah.
She's also kind of being raped in this opening scenario because it's not like she wants to be like
she would
literally.
Have been,
Gilbert's gonna kill her mom if she doesn't do this.
Well, and also if she wouldn't have gotten pregnant with him, I mean, Gilbert was a loose cannon. I mean, at some point he's just gonna rape her.
Yeah,
and because he was like, as soon as you get pregnant, then I can have you. Like then it's my time. And so we
are talking about like medieval, like the 12th century. So like this tracks for what we know about women in the 12th century. Real unpleasant to read about though.
It's hard, and even when I read like I've read like a few of like the earlier like Highlander ones, and there was even one by Lindsey Sands. I get the Lindsay mixed up. It was just the most recent one, in her Highlander's Bed, I think. And there's like a lot of violence against women in that one. I mean, she gets like beaten up, and like it was a great book. Honestly, recommend the audiobook. It's so fun. It's like book 11 in a series that was like going around on Twitter recently, but I just read that one and I had a great time. But like it starts off with her like the rival like clan guy like kidnapping her, beating her, like trying to like get her to get married, almost raping her. Like a lot of shit happens. And so you have to kind of be like okay with reading that. You know, to read some of these ones, like it's not comfortable.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend a medieval romance if you're not.
No.
Like not even on this level, but like some of the newer ones too.
Yeah, like I was surprised with the Lindsay Sam ones. I mean, she wasn't actually like sexually abused, so I think that takes it to another level for me. But still, I was like, oh my god, like there was a lot of shit happening. And then Lindsay Sam, she's known for giving her heroines concussions, so many concussions. This guy had an arrow wound to start the book. He was healing from it. Then she's like stealing. It's kind of on a tangent. She's like stealing his like plaid because she's naked because she fought off this guy. And then he like knocks her out because he thinks she's a lad stealing his thing, and then she's
not
multiple
a lad,
concussions.
A little lad,
another youth. And so
the youths and their plaid stealing, and they're getting lanced.
It's a real endemic. And so like yeah, I mean, I just really was not anticipating to start off this kid getting lanced and then them to like acknowledge the rape. Like that was also something I found fascinating. Is like they did not shy away from that she like raped him.
They have her be like,
yeah,
I think she says as he's coming into consciousness, like, I don't need your help to rape this man.
Yeah, and then because then he like misconstrues that because then he thinks she's like willfully doing this, which I mean she's sobbing. And
that's my main. I love Rowena. Warwick.
Yeah.
Was not a successful hero to me.
And that's why Rydstrom.
You can't keep bringing this
I can't, but I can because I have to. But he's so hot. But that's the thing, like, he was always likable, but this guy, like, you didn't have enough time. Like, there was never time given to really go under his depths It was just like, oh,
No,
he
we got, like, a
didn't.
brief mention of his, like, tragic backstory, and okay, so
Yeah.
I
It was
messaged
bad.
Sanj as I was reading this, and I was, like, not having a good time, and I think I remember saying something along the lines of, like, "This guy's really awful, and there's no tragic backstory to balance it out," and then we do get his tragic backstory,
It
and
was
I was like,
tragic. It was
"Oh,
not
spoke
good.
too soon." It was a tragic backstory, but
It was
by
more
giving
violence
it
against women.
sure, it sure was. Well,
Yeah.
but instead of having it be like a bonding, normally when you get a hero's tragic backstory, either it's like Lord of Scoundrels where we've already got like we got it very early
Yeah.
on and we know that that's
Yeah.
his motivation the entire book, or it's like a
Mhm.
bonding moment between the main characters where like something is revealed and
Yeah.
they like learn something about each other, like it's used in the plot, and instead it was just like her maid or whatever being like, "Oh, didn't you know?" and then told us third hand the whole tragic backstory, and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So, at no point does he know that she knows, and also, I'm not willing to use that to excuse the shit he put Rowena through, and I would have if he had fucking groveled.
Yeah. And there was like one moment where they had like started to kind of like make amends or like be okay with each other. And then she like saw his daughter wearing one of her dresses because like at the
Mhm.
beginning he gave like all of her clothing to his daughters because he's got like 3 daughters. Two, three, two.
2 and
Um,
the one that he
the youth.
the youth that he was like, in a few years I might have sex with her."
Oh yeah, the other youth. But she had her own kind of sad romance. I think it was a whole thing.
It was a sweet little romance,
Yeah, that was cute. I enjoyed that.
but mainly I was like, "Warwick, why are you treating your daughter like a servant?"
I know, because he's like, "I didn't know she was my daughter until, like, recently, so it's okay."
I was like, "Yeah, but you know now."
I know, so
What?
that was definitely a demerit against his, in
There were
his
a lot of
class.
demerits
There were a lot
against
of
Warwick.
demerits. But then also, I mean, the one daughter, she was I mean, to it's so odd because I didn't like her, okay? I was not a fan. I think her name was, like, Beatrix or something.
Eh.
Um, I was not a proponent of her. But then he just fucking because she was like he like goes away for a little bit and then she plots to have the heroine like abducted by the
She
Gilbert
no. She
or
plots to
no,
plant
yeah.
her jewelry so that she
Yeah.
is accused of
Can,
thievery, and because
yeah.
he's away, she'll get tortured in the meantime and hopefully
Yeah.
lose the baby.
And then raped
So
in the jail cell because there's a
right.
horrible jailer.
So this is a horrific plan she's trying to enact,
Yeah, not
but
good.
isn't she, like,
But
16 or something?
she's a youth herself. And
I can't say she didn't deserve to get
no,
whipped,
But
but
but but my thing is that she was like okay, so she was like in the main hall just fucking whipped like crazy by Warwick. So the hero is just like whipping his daughter. But
yeah.
and then he like sends her off to get married to some guy she doesn't want to get married to.
And
Like
the
that
whole
would have been
reason she
punishment
did
enough.
all of that was because she didn't want to get married to
Yeah.
this random guy and sold off. She wanted her inheritance. So, like, I
Yeah.
can't even blame I mean, I can blame her for, like,
No.
the plan,
Yeah.
but
But
she's also a victim.
she's also a victim. And I think the punishment enough would have just been sending her off, not like whipping her with everyone like present. But then this Gilbert to spoil the ending. Because what I found was crazy is that at the end, he's like in a sword battle with Gilbert, and then Rowena's like randomly inside, like in the middle of this battle. But then, like, he just has Gilbert like swear fealty to him, and then Gilbert doesn't get beheaded. And I'm like, so you're gonna whip your daughter in the most humiliating public fashion, but then this Gilbert bitch can just have to swear fealty?
Here's what I have to say
That's
about
where
Gilbert.
I was like, what?
I started to go off on this tangent, but then we got distracted.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
read a lot of reviews because again, 3 stars, it wasn't a bad time, and I think it did interesting things, but I also
It
don't
was a
think it was
memorable
successful
time.
in things, and it was just not a
Yeah.
good time to read. So, very mixed, but I was reading reviews because I was like, maybe somebody has written, like, a really well thought out, like, here it is
Mhm.
within the context that it was written, and within like, some people can
Mhm.
do that and, like, really
Yeah, when was
like,
this?
it was, 80
'Twas 1991.
Oh yeah, because it was later than I thought it was.
Yep.
But like I enjoy like when people write like defensive bodice
Mhm.
rippers.
Mhm.
Because I don't want to be that person that's like, oh, there's rape, I hate it. Because I mean, like we've
Mhm.
said, dubious and non-consent can be doing really interesting things in romance, and it's not fair to just write that off as like, rape. So
Mhm.
I was like, maybe someone has written a really compelling review that will like enlighten me and like point out all these things in the romance that I missed the first time around. And what I found is a lot of reviews from people being like, this was problematic, but fuck you if you don't like that. It's 5 stars, and anyone who says otherwise is like they have no taste and they're snowflakes. And I was like, this isn't the take I was expecting. But then, well, that and people being like, this is so swoon worthy. Like, I love the hero being like the transformation of the hero. And I was like, Warwick doesn't change this entire
Like
book.
what
So
transformation? Riddle me
let's
that.
jot that down. But the one that really stuck with me was I saw a review from someone who said that they felt really bad for Gilbert and he just
Oh,
kind of
Jesus.
seemed stupid, like not evil, just dumb, and they were honestly kind of hoping that he would like get a redemption and an HEA of his own. And I out loud to myself, alone in this room, was like, the book opens with him beating the shit out of her mom in front of her because she didn't want to marry this old guy.
I mean, to be fair, our hero beat the shit out of his daughter. But
Yeah,
like,
but
that's
the
not in defense
context
of
was
that.
at
That's not
least different.
But no, I mean, most redemption arcs besides Jamie Tart, I hate. Like, I don't really need a redemption arc. I just want people to be villains so I don't feel bad about hating them.
I mean, I like a
I
redemption
don't
arc,
know.
but you have to actually redeem
Yeah,
them.
I don't know how you would be like, yes, Gilbert
No,
is
there's
the
no coming
one.
back from Gilbert. Because even if we hadn't
There's
had
no
him,
coming.
again,
No,
beating her mother, you then also have
I mean,
literally everything about the premise of the book is him orchestrating
he's
it out of greed.
forcing her to get pregnant so that he can have her heir, and then the heir would get him all of her land.
Right.
So like he has never been
And to get her
good.
pregnant,
Yeah,
he's making her
I mean, maybe though to the
rape a guy who he's kidnapped and chained
yeah.
to a bed and who he plans to kill.
I mean, maybe Lindsay also had some weird like feelings towards Gilbert because again, he was not killed. I mean,
There's
I
no coming
expected
back
him.
from that.
No, I expected him to get like beheaded or like drawn and quartered. I did not expect him to have to just like kneel and give fealty.
Why did we have to go through all of this with a hero whose whole thing is like, I pay back
Revenge.
every slight 10 times
Equally.
over.
Yeah.
I will
Not
do
even
what you
equally.
did to me 10 times. Like, that's his
Yeah.
whole thing. And we had to suffer through it with the heroine, with Rowena.
Yeah.
Because that's his whole
Yeah.
thing. He's sworn to get revenge on everything. So he's
And
going
then
to do to her exactly what she did to him and then more. And
Yeah.
so I was like, well, at least he'll get vengeance for her.
Yeah,
No.
well, that's what I said. Yeah, in one of my like reading journeys, I was like, if this doesn't end in a beheading, the genre has let me down. Because like, I don't need her to change him in that way. Like, I don't need him to suddenly, suddenly like have a woman's influence, and now he's not gonna murder the villain. No,
I think that it can work to have like the taming influence and like not wanting revenge or whatever, but
not that.
But not when it's forgiveness for Gilbert.
Maybe scale back the 10 times. I'll just do like 1 for 1. You know, like
I
I'll
could have
just
done
like,
if it was 1 for 1. If he literally just did to her exactly what she did to him, I was still uncomfortable, but at least it would have been fair.
Technically, that's also what Kiss of a Demon King is. It's only just parody. So,
all right.
But like, even like if she would have like scaled back his, like at the end, I don't know what, like adjust. I don't know. So
I would have been cool with or like made him pulled a Beverly Jenkins, sold him into slavery or something. Whatever. Did something. Or alternatively, we could have had him learn to be a human being and not have to seek vengeance by forgiving his daughter and or not forgive, but like
you're so right.
Like that could have been the like humanizing moment.
Yeah.
But then Rowena's like, oh, here's my stepbrother who did all of XYZ to you, but also to me. And he could have been like, I won't seek vengeance on every slight against me anymore, but he did this to you. That's what I want.
Yeah, like I really expected this Gilbert to get like a very dramatic and great death, because even like the Lindsay Sand one, like the one that I was talking about in our Highlander's bed, like there's like a sub villain, and like that person also gets dealt with. The villain in that one gets like a demise. There was another one that I read, it was like from Entangled, and it was the weirdest. It was a very odd book because he kind of like goes into it's kind of like Die Hard, where you've got this like rogue Highlander like infiltrating a castle and like slowly taking out these like
Oh, is it?
rivals. I don't know what I read it last year. It's
Oh, then I
one
don't.
of their like Highlander series. They've got like that
Yeah.
one Highlander series. It
Yeah.
was one of those. And it would have been more interesting if it like would have just started with like that guy just being John McClane like the entire time. But I mean, he like killed those guys. Like they were certifiably dead, like all of them. And it was like a very satisfying ending. Like the beginning, not so much, but like the deaths were great, and I appreciated it. So it got 3 stars for me. And so I just really expected. I mean, this is medieval times.
Yeah.
Get a guillotine. I don't know. Make it fun.
I feel like, was that the right period?
I don't know.
Medieval.
Then be
maybe not right.
But then they should like
for sure.
Yeah, like they should just create one then.
I
They should have this
lie,
weird scientist guy.
Because when the scene happened, she's on the rooftop. Like they've jumped over onto this rooftop, and there's
or felled by his own sword,
like
or something.
like a door opening down into the like church or whatever, but the ladder's not there, so she's like talking to people down there. I fully expected for him to do his whole like forgiveness thing, but then something happens and Gilbert like falls down and was killed, because then he would die, but it wouldn't have to be Warwick's fault. And then it wasn't that, and he
or there's
lived.
like the classic like accidentally like stabs himself falling on his own sword. I don't know, like there are
like he brings about his own demise, something.
Yeah
Joanna, you let me down.
Yeah, I mean, that in itself,
I'm not even the bloodthirsty vengeance whore that you are.
You're not.
And I was still mad. I will say though, I felt very I'm reading this book right now, and I can't say which one it is, but there's this really terrible brother, like older brother of the hero, and he's fucking awful. And they like save a girl that he's trying to rape and stuff. Like he's like really a despicable human being. And I was like, man, I hope he dies. And like halfway through the book, word arrives that the brother has been killed, and I was like, oh, I didn't think they were gonna do it. Like I didn't expect him to die.
Yeah.
It was so like, oh,
nice.
Then justice has been served, and I felt like you.
I love that.
I was like, oh, he's dead. Never have I gone, oh, so glad he got killed.
Oh no, he died. The Rachel McAdams from Game Night. Oh my god. There again, I'm gonna have to start having a Crusty Cold buzzer. I won't say which book it is, but like there's this whole like one of the books revolves around the one brother like doing horrible things, like so the brother of the hero is like terrible, and the hero doesn't accept it, and then the heroine is like, bro, he literally did all this shit, and then like throughout the book you see it, and I thought that you're gonna have to like go through a battle and do all this shit. Spoiler, I guess, for like the last few Crusty Cole books. I don't know. But in the one before, I think that one was Shadow's Claim. Whatever one has, it's kind of like they go through a tournament, and like each round someone gets just killed to like win the heroine's heart. And the hero's name is Rune in that one, I think. He like beheads some guy. One, he offers her the like beheaded heads of her abusers, and this other guy who she's in love with.
Very biblical.
Yeah, so it was great because I'm a bloodthirsty revenge whore, and so he like kills the people who like they completely beat her up, and it was terrible. And then it's like a weird love triangle. She's in love with this other guy who gets her Dead Mel 5 tickets, and she chooses the tickets to win rather than the severed heads of her abusers, which, I mean, Who are you? I know. I never have I been more angry, I have to tell you. Someone gives me a bag full of the severed heads of the men who tortured me, and you choose Dead Mao 5 tickets? I mean, I'm a villain now, because that's my origin story. And one of those severed heads was the brother of the hero of the next book. And so he was already killed. He was already dead by the time we get to the end. We didn't have to go through any of it. I was so happy. It was great. But then the other book I didn't like because she didn't pick the heads. She picked so
Honestly,
many layers.
I don't know. I was gonna like camp. Like
I know.
It's a great bit.
I mean, how can you not want the severed heads of the men who like tortured you?
Look, I don't
know. And that's honestly what I expected of Warwick. I expected her or him to like present her with the felled body of Gilbert.
That would have been
but
nice.
Instead I got Dead Mal 5 tickets. And I'm not happy.
No, you didn't even get the tickets. You just
I got fealty.
Fucking Gilbert's fealty.
God.
Which I don't want.
No.
That was a garbage man.
He was so bad. Like, there was nothing redeeming about it. I don't know. Whoever
the
wrote
only
that,
acceptable men in this entire book were like that one friend.
Was it John? There was
I don't know
there
names.
were a few.
There were two. There was one guy was the second jail guy who like came in and kicked the other guy out and like brought her all the furniture and like hung out with her.
I think
iconic of him.
It was like a J name. I think it was John.
Who's to say? The second one is that one friend
who then gets with the mother.
Yeah, that guy. And like was just nice and just kind of showed up and was like, "Why are you treating that lady like a serf?" And he was like, "She is a serf now." And he was like, "That's not how that works."
Well, because then I did like that part of the book where the friend was like, "Why are you not going to marry her?" And he's like, "I don't have a reason." And then he was like, "Actually, I'll make her my woman." And
that man and the jailer were the only logical people in that whole. Well, also the bastard daughter. I liked her.
Also, the bastard daughter.
I liked her.
She got her happily ever after too.
Yeah, she was.
She got it. She had like her own Cinderella story.
Yeah, why was her story more compelling than Warwick? I could deal with. Okay, this is gonna sound bad, but I could deal with the rape.
Yeah,
I think it helped that neither of them, like when we got their POVs, neither of them were thinking of it the way that we would in a modern perspective. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't like neither of them felt all that violated by it. The focus wasn't necessarily was really on.
It was like humiliation, really.
Right. It was like the humiliation, and it was the like body betraying you. Yeah. But it wasn't like you couldn't have a modern sensibility. You know what I mean?
No, I agree.
I think that would have been actually impossible to read. Mm-hmm. So like I could deal with that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, again, like sick to my stomach with some of the stuff he did to her later.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that bad. It was all just based in humiliation, but like that is one of my least favorite things to read. So.
Yeah. Well, because then there was like the.
But Warwick was not a successful hero. At no point was I like, aw, he's changed.
Because it all felt like out of his control. You know, like he never, like it never really felt like he made the choice to be good to her. It was all like, oh no, I like gave her nice clothes again. Like, oh, I didn't mean
like he kind of felt bad.
But it wasn't.
She was uncomfortable.
Yeah, but it wasn't like an act of like I really value her like health and safety and like want her to feel good. It was like I feel bad, therefore I'm going to give it back. Like it was
like it
really
wasn't romantic to me.
No,
it was satisfying when he was like mad about his own feelings, but
she carried it. She really did. She was funny.
Yeah, I liked her. She was funny. I mean, there were
Hellcat.
Listen, okay, hear me out. Here's my thing. Because she was undergoing all of this stuff, and she was putting up a fight.
Yeah.
And she was doing all this. And I was like, Rowena, let's use our brains for a second here. What I wanted her to do was, like, she's chained down, and he's, like, living for the fact that he can, like, make her, like, turn on without her wanting it. I was like, what would he do if you just, like, moaned? If you got super into it? Because that's going to ruin it for him. He doesn't want you to be into it.
Yeah.
Or he wants you to, but, like, against your will.
Yeah.
So I'm just confused, like, why she didn't really, like, pull a Jessica Trent, where you do the thing that he's saying that he wants you to do. Like, I would have gone so over the top if he was like, oh, come, like, serve me at dinner. I would be like, oh, yes, my lord, like,
Yeah.
really going over the top because that would piss him off. But he couldn't, like, do anything to you because
Mm-hmm. Because, yeah.
that's
Like,
what
it's
you're
not satisfying anymore.
supposed to do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you fighting back is only fueling the fire, and
You're right. It wasn't a satisfying, like, it wasn't satisfying how she really, like,
I mean, it was
resisted
initially, but
in parts. Yeah, I agree.
I just wanted her to, like, use her brain rather than just
Yeah.
being like, I refuse. Because, like, clearly you're not getting out of this situation.
Yeah.
Or, like, when what's her name, the
Mhm.
other lady was, like, basically telling her, like, seduce him, like, use your feminine
Yeah.
wiles, make him fall in love with you, and she was like, I don't know, like, I don't want to. I was like, girl,
Do it.
why
Yeah.
are we even having this argument? Like, what?
You are right. That she felt a little bit like an old school heroine where she
I mean, she is an old school heroine,
I
to
know.
be fair.
But it's like we've obviously read. I mean, when was Lord of Scoundrels? It was like 98 or something. Like we've read 90s heroines who
That's true, but Jessica Trent,
she is
this
her
is
own.
not how
She
this
is her
story
own
would have
woman.
gone. Can you
She is her
imagine if this
own-
man tried to do to Jessica Trent? That wouldn't have gone well
she'd
for
wear
him.
his skin for a suit.
That's so
and
true.
I'd let her. I would let her.
We would applaud her.
I would be her tailor. Like
That's not a good mental image for me, the skin suit.
It's not.
No.
But no, I was reading, I don't even know what book I was reading at this point. But oh yeah, it was an arc for Lorraine Heath. And the whole premise was that she wanted revenge on this guy. And like she starts getting revenge on him, but then also like her getting revenge is also then used against her. So I'm like, no. Let her just get revenge and no repercussions, no anything like that. But then she like kept giving him like little victories and like he was just it didn't work because like it didn't feel like revenge. Like it felt like he was winning. And like I just want a book like Jessica Trent where she's just gonna shoot him. Like she just is gonna have no remorse. She's gonna go turn herself in, but not have remorse, just like because she's lawful. I'm going to shoot him, and then I'm going to go turn myself in.
Well, she turned herself in because she knew they weren't going to arrest her.
But then there was, like, the Jennifer Haymore that I read. It was, like, the Christmas one where she also shoots the hero because he did her so dirty, and she just shoots him, and I so support that. Like, I got a few, like, on Twitter, a few Beverly Jenkins books. I think Tempest was one of them. She, like, shoots the hero's hat off. I think it was, or that's Vivid, maybe.
She does shoot the hero in Tempest. It's not intentional. She thinks they're being attacked, and she thinks that he's one of the attackers, and she shoots him, and he's mad at her because she's his mail order bride in there. She's on her way to meet him. It's great. Amazing. That's a great book, by the way.
I will be reading that because, like, I needed, like, I just
That's
really
the
want
one where the one-eyed bobcat who's been causing problems eats the villain and then dies.
The one-eyed bobcat that's been causing problems. Yeah, I only have two-eyed bobcats causing problems in my life. Can't relate. So like I just really was craving like a book where there was just like revenge for no other reason than revenge. There's no like remorse. Like maybe like it's still between the hero and the hero and the heroine, but like she doesn't apologize or never feels bad for it. Like I've read some other ones and stuff, but like I just love feminine rage where they can just be mad and just do it and be hot. Like Jessica Trent shooting him was just so good. It was so good. It doesn't really relate to this besides the fact that like she never really got to be angry and like get that satisfied like reaction from him.
Her victories were short-lived where she got them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not fair to like really criticize her for not doing what I would do, obviously, but like
I mean, I will say a big game, I would be so weak.
I mean, I'm glad she wasn't just, like, crying, because if I'm being honest, I'm like, well, this is what I would do. I would absolutely just be weeping the whole time.
I was gonna say, like, I would not be
as strong. I would actually do any of that.
No.
However,
she was still the best part of the book.
Yeah, and I did enjoy because sometimes she would piss him off, and I was like, girl, what are you doing? But sometimes it was entertaining, and I respect that.
Are she was not entertained?
Exactly. She did that whole bit where she, like, got all mad that guy was carrying her, and then he was like, okay, here, I'll put you down. And she was like, no, you actually have to carry me the rest of the way.
I mean, she had some good times. Definitely.
There was the bit where which the fucking audacity of Warwick, once again, he brings that fiance in,
Yeah, that was rough.
assuming she's gonna still be in bed, and I was like, once again, Warwick, what are we doing?
I didn't like that.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah.
But her whole
Yeah.
bit during that scene where she's like
Was
hiding
hilarious.
behind him and doing stuff, great. Rowena,
was
I
funny.
bow down.
Yeah.
Warwick,
Honestly, fealty. You got my fealty.
that's so true.
Warwick, however, I mean, thank God that I forgot about the fiance. So yeah, he was affianced.
I mean, technically, it was
technically,
like
and then
he was gonna be or something.
I love how it was resolved. Like, she was just like, "No, I love someone else." Bye.
Yeah,
And like, it worked.
yeah,
I
we
was
got
so
rid of
happy
her
with
pretty
that.
quickly.
Because I was scared when I realized, I was like, "Oh no, she's here."
Yeah,
And then she was gone. I was like, "Yeah, I like that." I just, again, I was so compelled to read this book.
it was compelling.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't make any sense.
No.
Compels me though. I was Benoit Blanc this whole book.
I love those movies. I wish I could do his accent. I don't even know what. No one knows what that accent is.
Isn't
it's like
Nope, I don't know.
Isn't it supposed to be like transatlantic, but
I
like
thought so.
also weird. I've seen things where he just like does.
I don't
does
know,
what
but
he
I
wants.
do love it.
I do as well. I will say, like, I think, like, coming from like the modern sensibilities of like, a lot of times when you have the characters put in those situations, like, I just didn't expect her to actually like rape him. Like, I was like surprised because like if you were like reading like a current book, even in the Cressley Cole one, like, they don't have sex until they have to like say they want it.
Mm-hmm.
There's still obviously the torment and the sexual torture, but like, they wait until they give consent. Basically, it's a little convoluted, but I don't know. But even like in some other situations in books where you think they're gonna do things, or you think certain things are gonna happen, but then they like subvert it in a way, or like they get out of it in a different situation.
The thing that you're afraid is gonna
happen. But they just, I mean, it just did it multiple times, and I was like, whoa. And I respect it. Yeah, like, I was like,
to read,
no.
She was like, the heroine's gonna rape the hero, and the hero is gonna rape her.
And I also do wonder, because like a lot of times the heroines are the ones who are getting like destroyed in the reviews and stuff, rather than the heroes. And so I wonder if like this is, people like it because she gets a lot worse than he does. You know, like, she's seen as the abuser, so then she gets like 10 times as bad. And it's satisfying in that way. I don't know.
It's hard, I think, because like, this is I saw somebody say they love this book, but it would never be their like go-to bodice ripper recommendation for someone who hasn't read bodice rippers before. Like, it's one that you should read later, which I think does make sense. I was, again, looking at the reviews, getting frustrated because I saw very few, if any, that came from where I feel like we are, which is, there were either like 1 and 2 star reviews that were people that were very much bringing the modern sense of it, which I don't think there's anything wrong, by the way. If you're someone who reads a bodice ripper and is like, I hated that there was like all of this explicit,
because it's also just the plot. You can also just hate the plot. Like, that's the plot and you don't like it. Like, that makes sense.
Well, and also, like, it's okay to just not be comfortable reading something with rape and like violence against women. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, or you're like not as good of a historical romance reader because you don't like bodice rippers. I think that's totally valid. But at that point, I'm like, you shouldn't be seeking out a bodice ripper if you know that's something that you don't want to read, especially not this one.
Yeah.
So it was either like 1 and 2 star reviews that were coming at it from like, they were rating it as if it had been written today and are like, how could this author write this? And I'm like, well, you're not reading this in context. Or it's the ones that we talked about where they're like, I loved this. Like, this is so I saw one that like went in on how like they hate when people bring up consent in historical romance because that wasn't a thing, and like men would just take what they wanted, and like, so this one is so true to the historical like concept of women really being like pawns and all these things.
That kind of like goes I
don't think that's true either.
No, I agree.
I feel like there's gotta be a way to like
I was really searching for quotes that would like make me like this man. Like I got out my little tabbies and I
It
got
was
out my like
bizarre.
pen, and like even like there was no like, wow, that's the quote I'm gonna like, I don't know, embroider on a pillow. Like there was nothing that was like romantic or, I mean, to get to my lesson that I took away from this book.
Yes, please.
Uh,
What lesson do we
we have,
learn? Let me get my
when you
my pen ready to take some notes.
when you love a woman, travel that derogatory to endearing wench pipeline.
I applaud that. He did.
Because this man loved the wench term. He loved calling her a wench. And at first it was derogatory. And then it got to the end where it was endearing.
There's a...
That's...
It's For My Lady's Heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's another medieval, but notably, there's no rape. Look at that. At least I don't think there is.
It can be done.
I don't think there is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think a lot of books, like, really, like, yeah.
No,
yeah.
No, there definitely isn't. Because,
nice.
Okay, never mind. I was like, at least it wasn't
she was
between
buffering.
The main, or like there was no main character rape.
Yeah.
Because Melanthi's whole thing is that like she seems very worldly, so he assumes that like she knows what she's doing, and in her head she's like, I've had sex 3 times because her husband was like a bazillion years older. He was a very nice man, but he was literally more like her dad.
Yeah.
And they had sex like 3 times. So she's like, straight up, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, you probably know better than I do. And he's been celibate for 13 years. I love that man.
I can't wait to read that one.
But that one also was they are like seeking shelter at some like house party that they stumble across in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And
so they have to pretend to be...
Yeah, he doesn't want anybody to know that she's a princess.
Nice.
And like this lady and whatever. So they have to like hide her falcon. It's a whole thing. But so
hide my falcon.
He pretends that he's just like a random knight or whatever, and this is his like doxy, basically.
Oh,
like,
yeah, there's a great
lady that he's picked up and is traveling with, and whatever. And so he keeps referring to her as Wench, and she keeps under her breath being like, call me Wench one more fucking time, I'm gonna flay the skin off your body. And he just keeps doing it because he thinks it's a great bit, and she keeps upping the punishment for every time he does it. And it comes back, I think, a few times later in the novel, but it's very funny. It, like, him being like, all right, Wench, and she's like, I've counted 4.
I've counted 4.
She's like, you're actually not gonna live to the end of this. Melanthi, by the way, so me-coded. That's all. We should do an episode just on For My Lady's Heart and Shadowheart, because
I need to read them, and then we sure can.
You do.
This isn't
the second one's so kinky, and for what? For what?
I don't know. Just that. I don't have words.
Those books are bonkers. That's the affectionate Wench pipeline.
Well, because there's not to that extent, but in A Week to Be Wicked by Tessa Dare, they stumble upon the house party of hero of book 4, and he's like known for his like orgies and all that great stuff. And she's like a Russian like prostitute, or she has to pretend to be like a Russian prostitute who doesn't speak much English. And at the like game of cards, she like gets to like throw wine on him and like lick it off of it. It's very fun. It's a very fun scene. And I feel like he probably calls her Wench at some point. And she's obviously like very angry about it. I love the word. I love that word.
Like, but particularly when it's this bit of like,
calling someone a wench in this day and age is so fun.
That's true.
Like, if you
Who
really want to be
wench
insulting
anymore?
Me, if you want to be insulted, call someone a wench. Like, I mean, it's just a fun thing to say. Like, it's a fun, like, this man said it all over this book, and at the end, the little wench has bewitched me, as you thought. And yeah, so that's again, it's the endearing
Warwick quote. You found
Honestly,
it.
I did.
Rowena's such a bad bitch. That's where I'm at.
That is
And
very, very
she
true.
gets this man who won't even behead the stepbrother who was planning on fucking her after forcing her into marriage with an ancient, disgusting man who murdered his wives and then forcing her to rape this guy that he was planning on killing.
That's so true.
And you won't even get vengeance for
That's
her.
my wench. That's my wench right there.
Well, she's my wench now if you're not
yeah.
gonna take care of her.
That's so true. I mean, that's truly the only lesson, because, yeah, like you said, like, no other lessons really are for the ears.
No.
They're the tweets you don't quote.
Yeah. The tweets you don't quote.
Yeah.
Those are the tweets you keep in the locked little box that is your brain. You just think them to yourself, chuckle perhaps, and move on.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Maybe I should just go on the street and start calling people wenches and see if it gets me a husband.
I don't think it will.
Who knows? Maybe they'll be like, wow, she's so quirky.
I think you're supposed to be the wench.
I know. I'm gonna, flip those gender roles. True love is the wenches we meet along the way.
I wanted to like this book so much. But once again, compels me though.
It compels me though.
I finished it and I was so confused. It wasn't a good time, but I couldn't stop.
I really couldn't. We can't stop. We won't stop. And
I'm trying to think of like a food equivalent. You know what it is?
Whoa.
When I studied abroad in Italy, we stopped at this gas station type store, but it was like a big fancy store with fancy food. And I was like, I would love some Pringles right now. And we're in Italy, but they have Pringles. But the thing is, they have different flavors. And I was like, ooh, let me try a fancy Italian flavor. It was paprika flavored. I was like, paprika? What does that even taste? So I bought the paprika Pringles.
The use of salt and pepper of Blue's Clues?
Yes. I ate the youths. Anyway, I ate one singular Pringle.
One in Rome.
Well, we were outside of Rome, but yeah.
Went outside of Rome.
Yeah. I ate it, and I was like, that's revolting. Who would eat this? I gave it to some of my friends. I was like, try this. Yeah. What is this? We were all like, that's so gross.
You have to keep eating
but I was really hungry because I had no other food. And the more I ate, the more I was like, hang on. And now,
she did something.
You can't get them, to my knowledge, here.
Wait, you crave them now?
I crave pepper. Like the day before I left, I bought multiple canisters so that I could pack them in my suitcase, and I had to savor them. Banger. Where are the paprika Pringles at
the plot
chain
twist.
Stores of America? The difference is that those turned out to be really good, and this turned out to be just confusing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like not even a paprika Pringle.
That's the scale.
That's my new rating
we're judging.
System. Is it paprika Pringle worthy or not?
On the scale of Pringles. Yeah, it gave me the Pringles. Not the good tingles, but it gave me the Pringles. Pain.
No, it didn't give me the
tingles.
The Pringles. Oh. Well, there's no R in there. That would just be Pingles.
Thank you.
What are we talking about?
Gave me the Pingles. I mean, we've gotten an hour out of this book that we were like, how are we going to talk about it? So
That's
I'm impressed.
True. Well.
I mean, we did it.
This was a weird one.
It was. It was weird to read because I just was reading it and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then I read it and I was like, what? It didn't really change my thoughts. It was just like,
yeah,
that happened. I'll never forget it. I mean, so that's a gold star in its column.
Won't.
No.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to try more Johanna Lindsey because I do think this is the only one I've read of hers. I don't think I've read any other ones.
I have heard she writes pretty awful heroes, and that's my
joy.
I don't know. That's a sticking point for. I mean, Dane is also an awful hero, but I love him. So I feel like I I don't know. I
He's
think there's a
not
way to write a really awful
awful, he
hero
just
who's
has a
not
big
actually
nose.
awful. He's not awful. He just has a big nose. His whorish tendencies and giant nose have captivated me. That's the funniest Tumblr post I've ever seen, by the way. I saw that and I was like, nothing has ever been more Jessica Trent than that set of words.
He's adorable.
That, you nailed that. That was Kate Redding, everyone.
Thank you. That's Hannah talking.
I don't know. I feel like, Sebastian St. Vincent, that's a garbage man.
What there's been a few where I'm like, yeah, he's a dick, but he's my dick.
Yeah, but I love him. This one, I'm like, that
he can be your dick. I don't want him.
I don't want that one.
No, I will say that really does kind of suck. About the heroes all being pretty shitty.
I mean, that was like one person I saw said something about that. That's not based on any kind of.
I'll probably just absorb it all. Like, I'll probably like believe it now because it was spoken.
I just would like to be clear that wasn't like me having read Johanna Lindsey and saying that. That was just a thing that I read elsewhere and makes me nervous.
Because that's funny because like I read 3 of the Diana Biller ones, and you had read. I don't know if you went back and read The Widow of Rose House. But
I haven't yet. I read the
Brightest Star in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Hotel of Secrets. I love
that, man.
I know. And the thing is, like, I wasn't a fan of The Widow of Rose House or even really The Brightest Star in Paris because they both just made me, like, too sad to really get into it. But even then, her heroes were so good and so cinnamon roll and so puppy dog that I still didn't hate the books because the heroes were just so lovely. And, like, they were just perfect. And like I loved him. And then you get to the 3rd book and then everything is perfect. And then he's still just like this guy I just hug and tuck into bed and, you know, read stories to. But like, so I really, I don't know what just happened. I glitched. I don't know what that was. My jaw was just like,
must have been a glitch.
Something Stitch. I've listened to that song probably like twice.
Yeah, and I don't plan to again.
No, I'm sorry, Taylor. But if the heroes are good, I can forgive some. But if the heroes are bad, I really have a hard time forgiving.
There is in that I have brought it up so many times now, that Dangerous Men and Adventurous Women
how dare
essay
us
collection
bring up things repeatedly.
I'm so sorry. But there are some really interesting, and again, that's one that like it's very dated and I don't agree with a lot of the points made in a lot of the essays, but at the very least they're thought-provoking. But a lot of them are about how romance hinges on the heroes, which I disagree with because that leaves zero room for queer romance, and I don't think that that's true. And also I just don't think it's true even besides the fact that it leaves out queer romance.
Because like Sarah McLean's entire catalog exists.
Yeah. But I will say, I mean, I would say it really hinges for me on both the character. Like if one of the main characters sucks, even if I loved the other one, there's no real recovery from that. I can get past like a plot I don't care about.
Yeah, for the couple.
Yeah, like kind of shoddy pace. Like I can get past a lot if the 2 main characters are good. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. Because, I mean, I love a good hero. But I mean, most of the heroes I go for are not the alpha, like, prisoner of my desire Warwicks. So, like...
I mean, I like an alpha hero, but I don't like Warwick, so... Yeah. I don't know. I think the problem with that one was just that he didn't recover for me.
No.
There was no, like, I needed him to grovel for, like, 80% of that book if he was gonna make up for it, and he didn't. He didn't grovel almost at all. He didn't even really feel bad.
No.
There was, like, that one thing where he, like, went and was like, oh, I'm so sorry, why didn't you tell me?
And then he got angry at her for not telling him. Yeah.
I was like, have you considered your own actions? I haven't. What is the stupid quote I'm trying to think of? Why can't you learn? That one.
Oh, that's a good one.
When
yeah.
will okay, I could not remember the first part of the quote. When will you learn
that
that
your
your actions have consequences?
Not soon enough if you are Warwick.
And he doesn't have to, because he's a
Warwick.
rich dude in the medieval
That's true.
period, and he kills a lot of people.
I mean, I did love the drama of him being the enemy of Gilbert that he feared the most, and then they had him in captivity and they didn't know it and they let him go.
Sure.
And then, like, I did love that because that was fun for us.
It was fun until there was a certain point where it was like, if you connected one more dot, you would have all the answers, my guy, and they are staring you in the face.
Yeah, and a really pretty picture. But you have no artwork and nothing to show for it. Yeah. And the poor youth who was lanced.
Rip that youth!
I know. I mean, that honestly...
Justice for that youth.
I was like, how am I gonna get over that? Like,
It's like there was no reason, also.
No. But I mean, that it made him angrier, and that was supposed to, like, justify... It was supposed to, like, almost justify him being so horrid to her, because the youth was felled. But, I mean, the youth was stupid. Felled? But I have to put on record, the youth was stupid, and he jumped into battle.
Okay.
Not really prepared, because he was a youth, and he had adrenaline and hormones.
I mean, to be fair, if we're talking medieval period and he was like 15, I guess he's not even really
a youth. He is
he was old enough to be a squire or whatever he was doing. I'm just mad about it.
He was a squire in training. Yeah. I mean, it's just a nonsensical death. Like, is that a word? Nonsensical? I don't know.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like Luke Skywalker's parent or, like, family just being charred. Just, like, in that hut.
We needed them to be charred in the hut, though.
I know.
He never would have left Tatooine.
But that still haunts me. That's a hard one for me to process. This youth was my Luke Skywalker.
The world will never be the same as it was, except in this case it was a random 15-year-old and not, like, a critical tie to the life you once had.
Yeah.
In conclusion, death to Gilbert.
Off with his head.
And
let us eat cake.
Let Rowena be in charge of everything. We don't even need Warwick.
No, she could have had, like, a lovely relationship with his daughters. And she had one with the one daughter.
It's true.
But it could have just been the friends or the women we meet along the way, and Warwick gets tossed in a gutter. That could have happened. Yeah. What a strange, funky time. It was
truly Funky Town.
It was Funky Town. If you meet someone... Now that song's just in my head.
Yeah. Quick musical interlude. Pause if you're listening to this. Pause. Go and listen to the song Funky Town by I don't actually know who Funky Town is by, but I would prefer personally if you would listen to the VeggieTales cover of Funky Town.
You do
classic.
Like VeggieTales.
It's on the CD that's like an 80s or
no.
It's like a themed roller rink party.
VeggieTales is your 70s. Twilight.
VeggieTales is my Twilight. Did you watch the French Peas videos that I sent you?
I did.
I love them. I think they're so funny.
Open up to.
They are much funnier now than it was as a small child watching the French Peas that are very clearly a nod at the French night in Monty Python.
For context,
and wipe our little noses. Come on. That was so funny.
For context, there was, like, a thing going around on Twitter of this, like, French person making a take that was maybe not the best take, and someone in the comments was like, I've never had a problem with the French until now, but now I don't know what the full tweet, but it was like, but now I have a vendetta. And it was just funny because, like, all of these books hate the French,
right? So, the French in historical romance are either, like in Lord of Scoundrels, the, like, you know, more kind of bohemian, hedonistic. The British don't like them because they like pleasure and good food and wine and lay around all day. Or because war and Napoleon, they're the villains.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny every time the French are the villains just because they're the French. It's the equivalent of, like, how the Russians are always the bad guy in Cold War media.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
except it's the French.
yeah.
Anyway, so in response, I sent you multiple videos of the French peas from
did.
VeggieTales because the French peas are frequently the villains in VeggieTales. Like, they play the bad guys, and I think that's so funny because, like,
That's
no
so
other
romance
VeggieTales
novel
character is, like, I mean, I think maybe one has, like, a British accent or something, but most
Yeah.
of them are just talking vegetables, and then there's the French peas, and they're French because they're French peas, and they're always the bad guys, and I'm convinced it's because they're French.
Is there, like, a pea that's French, like a French fry? I know they're not French, but
Oh, isn't that
like,
aren't they literally French peas?
is there, like, a French pea? I do not like peas.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, they're disgusting. My mom used to put them in macaroni, and that was a trying time as a youth.
There's apparently, like, it's like a recipe. I googled it. There's a recipe for French peas, but the point is that the French peas in VeggieTales are always the villains, and so I sent multiple clips of them being villains. Now go away! They have, like, really exaggerated French accents. I love them. I think they are so funny. Specifically now as an adult watching those clips and being like, that's the funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
Check out the show notes for some VeggieTales links.
Mhm.
That's what you're getting today. Funky
really
Town
are.
as covered by VeggieTales on that one CD that I had of them at a roller rink 70s themed party. Boys in the Sink makes an appearance, everyone. Get ready. And then the French peas.
The French peas.
What an episode this has been.
It really has. I mean, the final parting message is if you meet someone you wish to court, call them a wench.
Call them a wench.
And see what happens. And I don't know. Apparently you can just be a really terrible person and still get them.
That's true.
But so I think really the secret sauce is calling them a wench. So
minimal groveling required.
Yeah.
For maximum results. You even get a kid out of it.
You get lots of kids out of
That's
it.
True.
Really,
you have a lot of kids.
You
can, like, whip them and treat them as servants and sell them off into a marriage they don't want against their will. And it doesn't matter because you've got more.
You've got more, and you've got
There's one on the way.
There's one. The stork's coming by tomorrow to drop one off. Yeah. That's about all I've got. Hopefully, honestly, if you read this, I hope we summed up your feelings. I hope this
ironically, at least one person, Stephanie, if you're listening, we are completely booked on Instagram, commented just earlier.
I thought you were saying we were completely booked. I was like, we're not.
No.
No. We are not.
That's her username. I'm so sorry, but she commented shortly before recording and was like, I also, like, read Prisoner of My Desire because I knew y'all were gonna do it for the podcast, and I also gave it 3 stars.
Shout out to Stephanie.
And it didn't sound like I can't remember what else she said, but it didn't sound like she particularly liked it.
Yeah, we feel you, Stephanie.
Hopefully we summed up
You're in
at
our
least
hearts.
some of your feelings. Thoughts and prayers.
You'll be in my heart. Great song.
Why does our
Tarzan
episode have a soundtrack at this point?
I know. I wish I could sing so then we could actually do it, but I can't. So it's just bits and pieces of me being Phil Collins, and who wants that, really? I mean, you get it, but who wants it? I mean, I still think about the I wanna know, like, that one. It's so relevant. Like, I want to know who loves Warwick and why, but also
I actually don't want to know.
Exactly, but also I don't want to know. Yeah. Can you show me? No, don't show me. Yeah, okay, well, we have successfully talked our way out of this hole.
Yeah. I'm so sorry if you love this book and have listened to this entire thing of us just being like, didn't enjoy it, but also didn't not enjoy it.
Or Stephanie, like, you're a real one. That's really what we've come to say.
I didn't hate the experience of reading it all the time.
Yeah.
What a resounding endorsement.
That That tracks.
Somebody contact the advertising person for... Is
For
this an Avon book?
Avon in
I can write some copy for
1991.
you.
Yeah. There's no real names besides the photograph
That's
people
okay.
and stuff. I know.
Okay.
Well, how
consider
fascinating for
lesson
us.
2
In the books
wrapped up. Please don't pack up until I have dismissed you. The bell does not dismiss you. We do.
Oh yeah, I added a bell in the... Yeah, okay, cool.
By the way, this isn't relevant, but nothing enraged me in high school like the bell doesn't dismiss you. I do.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
You're not the power here.
From the bottom of my heart. Like, I love most of my teachers, but, like, nothing instilled rage. The bell literally does dismiss us.
Yeah.
That is what that bell is there for.
And you get 5 minutes to get to class, to go to your locker, to go pee. I'm like...
I got things to do.
Yeah. Honestly, bringing up some rather unpleasant
yeah, we unlocked some
memories.
rage there.
I mean, I'll frequently, like, have nightmares that I have, like, a math test due. Or, like, a math... Like, I'll have, like, a math test. Ugh.
Is, I have a repeated night. It's always, like, it's not the same dream, but it's the same setup, which is that I'm, like, the lead or some part that has a speaking or singing role in a play. And I, for some reason, haven't been at any rehearsals or memorized my lines, and it's opening night, and I have to go on and just, like, make it up. Yeah, it's a bad dream. It is so stressful.
No, mine's just failing tests.
Not great
and
either.
I'll have the occasional, like, no pants. That's always a fun one. I don't know
mine
where
are
that
almost
one comes
always from. Sometimes they're work related, but it's almost always... Sometimes it was like
the theater
college theater, because we would also do like scenes and stuff in class, and I would have dreams about being unprepared and getting called on to perform a scene that I had not worked on or memorized the lines for. But it's almost always that, being asked to perform and not being prepared for whatever reason. We don't need to get into dream therapy or whatever the dream what's that called? Interpretations. This episode has been long enough already.
I don't know.
That's another VeggieTales episode. What's the rainbow coat? Little Joe.
I feel like I need to, like, get educated on the VeggieTales.
I would pay so much more. In college, my 2 best friends, the ones that we have a history, but we were friends at the time, loved Lord of the Rings, and I'd never seen Lord of the Rings, so they forced me to watch all of the Lord of the Rings back to back. Which, by the way, if you ever want to introduce someone to Lord of the Rings, making them watch all the movies back to back is not the way to do it, because I fucking hated those movies. And now I feel bad, because I'm like, I would have enjoyed those probably if we hadn't watched them back to back, but I can't watch them now because I hated it so much, the experience of sitting through that. But my prize at the end of all of it was that I got to make... The one friend had already seen it, but the other one got to make him watch Lord of the Beans, which is the VeggieTales Lord of the Rings parody, essentially. Lord of the Beans. And I rewatched it with him, and I was like, this is so funny. I didn't understand all the bits that were so funny as a child because I hadn't seen Lord of the Rings, but my god, that was funny. The silly song with Larry, he was an elvish impersonator. He was Elvis, but with pointy ears.
Oh, that would do it.
Oh god, it was so funny. There weren't orcs. Legolas. There were sporks. Legolam, not Legolas. Legolam.
Is that...
God, that is a funny... It's on
what
YouTube.
Vegetable is that?
Look it up. Oh, he's a gourd. But his name was Legolam.
Nice.
And his twin brother, Jerry, who was an elf, but he baked cookies. He wasn't he wasn't that kind of elf.
Huh.
I need y'all to go watch Lord of the Beans on YouTube. I know it's there. It's not very long. And what a time it is.
I'll find it. I'll throw it in the show notes. Just slip it in.
No. You've got to arouse them first against their will. Don't just use your man root dry.
Detention! Detention!
I was citing my sources.
Plagiarism.
There was no plagiarism. I didn't even do anything.
Didn't even swear. Call back to my Taylor Swift SNL thug story.
Okay, we need to end this lesson.
Yeah.
Consider yourselves dismissed.
Yeah. Bye, wenches.